It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. Oh, it's times like these, time and time again.
This is just different. I mean, this Easter is not what we're used to. I mean, the song that the band just played, that's what we're used to, right? You know, especially if you live in Colorado, you call Flatirons home. We're used to, you know, like big band and big lights and something that surprises you. We worship a God that we think is over the top, right? Over the top, good and forgiving and loving. And so at Easter, we go over the top. That's our way of celebrating him. But things are just different now, right? Times like these. But here today, for Easter, we're going to embrace different. I mean, even though we're all separated, we're all in our individual homes, we're very glad that we're together right now in this moment. I know that you've had to embrace different at home like I have. And so before we get started in earnest today, I want to share a video with you. I got together with some people. We're like, let's come up with some tips for how people can truly thrive in this quarantine season. So enjoy this video of how to embrace different at home.
Here are some simple tips for thriving in quarantine. Are your days running together? Feel like you're trapped in Groundhog Day? Try keeping a daily journal. Feeling sad and overwhelmed? Find a light-hearted, uplifting TV show to watch with your spouse. Wait, so she fed her husband to tigers? Wait, so her arm was bitten off by a tiger and she still works there. Wait, so this guy is married to 10 women? Oh, so they're all on meth. I feel sad.
Let's just watch one more.
Okay. Missing your friends? Have a virtual hangout using Zoom or FaceTime. What? No, hold on. No, you're muted. No, I'm muted. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Daddy, I have to poop.
Okay. Guys, I gotta poop. Or M's gotta poop. Yeah, turn your TV off. Turn your video on. Yeah, one person at a time. Turn your audio on. Turn your video off. Now, don't take your computer into the bathroom. You know what, guys? I'll see you next month. Do the little ones have cabin fever? Get creative with playtime. Do some crafts. Build an obstacle course. Or play hide and seek. Okay. You guys count. I'm gonna hide. If you have cabin fever, remember, don't cry in front of the little ones. It will scare them. Instead, cry alone in the shower, fully clothed. Don't forget to follow some simple rules for staying healthy. Use your elbows to high five and connect with others. Also, make sure you're coughing into your elbows. Wait a minute. So you want me to cough into my elbows and touch people with them? Oh, good point. In fact, you should wash your elbows. You should wash them now. No, don't use your hands. Nope, your elbows could be contaminated. No, try this instead. Cough into your hands and use your elbows for everything else. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Use these tips to thrive in quarantine. And as a friendly closing reminder, don't cry in front of the little ones.
Why?
I do want to tell you that if your kids are as crazy and as little as mine, then it's very difficult to watch church at home. Allie and I are asked like every 5 seconds for goldfish or Cheez-Its or who's that on the screen or what's this song about. We can barely pay attention. And so today we're actually hosting a live Easter service for your kids too. You can head to the website, flatironschurch.com. You'll see the link for it. So you actually have a couple minutes right now to go to another room, get an iPad, a computer, iPhone, whatever, and get your little kids set up with their own Easter service. The point is not to isolate families or to, get a little break from them or whatever. The point is that they can learn about Easter on their own level while you're learning on your level, and then you can get together after that and talk about it. So you do have a couple minutes right now, if you've got little kids, to head to the website and get that Easter service going for them. But for everyone else, I guess just get comfortable on the couch, go grab a nice cup of coffee, no shirt, no shoes, no problem, because this is church online. I'm gonna pray and then we'll get started. So pray with me. God, these are just weird, strange times, and we didn't expect that this was gonna happen. God, some of us have enjoyed the time at home and the time with our family, and then others of us are caught up in fear and anxiety, and we didn't expect to be checking the bank account every single week, seeing that we got a month of runway and then we're out. We didn't expect to lose jobs. We didn't expect to be concerned about our health all the time. God, it's just a strange and unexpected time. But in the midst of that, you're constant. In the midst of that, the storm that we're in, you say that you are the foundation that won't ever quake and won't ever shatter. So God, I'm praying that over the next few minutes as we celebrate you and what you've done 2,000 years ago, God, I pray that you speak to our hearts. God, I pray that you help us to trade anger for patience and trade sadness and defeat for resilience and trade fear for hope, because 2,000 years ago in Jesus, you traded death for life. And that's who we're celebrating right now. And it's in his holy name that I pray. Amen.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Easter at Flatirons. Let me be like the 10th person to say, seriously, this is not the Easter that any of us were expecting when we started making plans a few months ago. As a matter of fact, and I know you can relate to this too, most of what has gone on and is going on around us in the world right now wasn't what any of us expected, right? And when that happens, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, when something hits us, and then initially that feels like fear and panic. And then when that subsides, a lot of the time, we spend a lot of time feeling sad or confused or disappointed. And sometimes that moves over to anger or embarrassment or ashamed or even depressed, because in our minds we're thinking maybe if I had or maybe hadn't done something different or done something better or done something whatever, then maybe this wouldn't have happened to me or us. You ever felt like that in the last couple of weeks? Let me ask you this. Have you had your sit and stare moment yet? You know what I'm talking about. Mine was the other night. I was standing on my back patio waiting for like puppy potty break number 20. And I just was standing there and I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? How much worse is this going to get? Will things ever be the same? And then honestly, I guess now looking back, I think I prayed something like, hey, God, this isn't what any of us wanted or expected. Are you going to do something? And how soon are you going to do it? How soon are you going to fix this? Is it even fixable? You may have never thought about it like this, but one of the main themes, if you want to call it that you find cover to cover in the Bible, it's very similar. It's about people facing unknown, unexpected things that hit their life, and then trying to connect the dots of their lives to what they thought or what they expected God to do or not do about their life, and then that mental and emotional and spiritual journey that they go on when God did something really different than what we expected God to do. It's still true with us today, right? And it's probably no more true than with Jesus and the very first people who ever tried to figure him out and what to expect from him. That's what I want to talk about today. See, the first two official followers of Jesus, they didn't know much about Jesus except their teacher had said good things about him. So one day when they see Jesus literally walking down the road, they literally start following him down the road. And he stops and he turns around and he asks them. This is the first recorded words to come out of Jesus' mouth at the very start of his ministry. He just turns around and asks these two guys, what do you want? He just cuts right to it. What are you looking for? And their response was actually kind of nervous, like busted, like, where are you going? In other words, I don't think they knew what they were looking for in Jesus. I think they were just looking for something like better than what they had right then. And Jesus, he answered them. He just looked at them and went, well, come and see. In other words, I'm not going to tell you everything up front about me or anything else because you wouldn't believe it anyway. You're going to have to like come and see and experience me for yourself because it's different than probably what you're expecting. And if you keep reading, that would be an understatement. It's interesting. The first recorded words to come out of Jesus' mouth after he rose from the dead were to a lady named Mary. She was a former prostitute whose life had really been changed. She had come to the cemetery on that Sunday morning to the tomb where Jesus was buried, and she expected to find a sealed tomb with a dead body inside of it, just like she had left it on Friday, even though Jesus had taught over and over and over and over and over for the past 3 years, let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to be crucified, but I will be raised from the dead on the third day. But Mary, nor anybody else had ever seen that or experienced anything like that before, so she didn't expect it to really happen. So when Jesus walks up to her, he asks her the same question that he asked those two guys 3 years earlier. Who is it you're looking for? What are you looking for? And at first, Mary, she didn't recognize his voice because it wasn't what she expected, right? And those 3 years between those first words, what are you looking for? And those last words to Mary, what are you looking for? Were filled with Jesus just blowing up what people expected him to do or not do, to be or not be. One of my favorite, Jesus blows their minds, unexpected moments. It's not even really an Easter story, and I'll tie it in here at the end, but I just love this story. It comes right after Jesus has been through a really rough stretch of road. Earlier in the week, his cousin, his name is John, he's his mentor. It's the same guy who baptized him in the Jordan River. John had been beheaded, and Jesus is really sad about that. And the rest of the week, Jesus was constantly being attacked and criticized by all kinds of people. And no matter what he did, people just said it wasn't good enough and they just wanted more. Ever felt like that? So after this long day of teaching people and healing people and feeding thousands of people, Jesus looks at his 12 friends and says, hey, get in the boat. It's right beside a lake. Get in a boat, sail across the other side. I will meet you there later. He just wants to get away. He just wants to go in the mountains to be alone and talk to God. I can relate to that. In other words, Jesus needs a break. He just wants to take a breath. So they get in the boat and they start sailing to the other side of the lake, and Jesus just hikes up into the mountains to spend some time with God. Now you read this story is that later that night, it takes hours and hours to get across this huge lake, but this big storm kind of comes out of the hills and hits the lake. And some of the guys in that boat, they were like professional fishermen on the same lake before they left their boats to follow Jesus. And they knew, hey, this is not good. This is bad. They all had friends and neighbors and relatives who were at the bottom of this lake because of storms like this had hit their boat, and they didn't make it back. This is bad. And you got to think they're thinking, didn't expect this, right? I mean, think about this. Who literally got them into that boat? Jesus. Why were they in this situation right now? Jesus. And guess who wasn't in the boat? Jesus. And you got to think it at least went through their minds, because they're normal people just like you and me. This isn't what I signed up for. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was doing what I was told to do. He told me to get in the boat. I was doing everything that I knew to do. This is not what I expected. Again, ever felt like that? I have. But what happens next is even more unexpected, because they're rowing, they're trying to get to the other side so they don't die, and they look out into that storm and across those waves, and this is crazy, there's Jesus walking on the water, and there's an understatement. They were terrified. The Bible actually says they thought it was a ghost. Now, I'll be honest with you, if I was Jesus, I would have messed with them a little bit. I would have looked at them and gone, hey, row harder, you can do it. Put your backs into it, something like that. Write this down. Jesus is a better person than me. That's true. Here's what actually happens. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage. It's me. It's I. Don't be afraid. Jesus sees that they're terrified. He says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't be afraid. I'm right here. Now look at Peter's response. This is so good. Peter yells out. He says, Lord, if it's you, Peter replied. Now, time out. If it's you, I mean, who else would it be, Peter? I mean, it's Jesus, right? Well, think about this. If you've never heard of or seen anybody in the history of water walk on it, the last thing you expect to see is the guy you just left back on shore taking a stroll in the middle of a storm that you are fully convinced is probably going to kill you and everybody on board. So maybe I shouldn't be so hard on Peter. Here's the rest of what he actually says. He says, Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come, Jesus said. Then Peter got out of the boat, remember this, all right? Walked on the water and came towards Jesus. Now let's don't rush through that. Don't skip by that too quickly and miss it. As far as I know, and I've read this thing cover to cover several times, there are only two people in the history of water to walk on it. It's a very short list. Jesus and Peter. That's it. That's impossible. It's certainly unexpected. I mean, didn't see that coming, right? Jesus said, come, get out of the boat, Peter. Peter climbed out of a sinking ship. He fixed his eyes on Jesus, and he walked on water. For a little bit, he walked on water. Let's keep going. But when talking about Peter, when Peter saw the wind and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. And this is what Jesus says, oh, you little faith. He said, why did you doubt? Now, if you keep on reading, eventually, Jesus takes Peter's hand, they walk back, they climb back in the boat, he calms the storm, and they get to the other side. And you got to think about this, right? Because I'm sure later that night when they get over there and they're all standing around a campfire and drying their clothes. I mean, this is like a youth pastor with all his guys and they're going, dude, Peter, you walked on water. He's like, yeah, I can't believe you walked on water. And then Judas probably said something like, yeah, but then you sank. Like, shut up, Judas. But you got to let this sink in, all right? He just did the impossible. Right? He did the unexpected. Everything was going great until reality set in. And Peter took his eyes off Jesus and he started looking around at the wind. He started looking at the storm. He started looking at all the circumstances, all the things in his life that said, hey, time out. Hey, Peter, people like you can't walk on water. People like you normally drown in storms like this. That's when he began to sink. And Jesus' unexpected response is really what he doesn't do that's so surprising. First of all, he doesn't let him sink, to teach him a good lesson. He also doesn't chastise him. He doesn't yell at him like, oh, quit, quitter. No, he says this, and the way I picture it, I can't prove this, the way I picture it is kind of like you when you were trying to teach your kid to ride a bike and then they crash and fail. I think he grabbed him by the hand and pulled him up and said, oh, buddy, you were doing so great. You were almost there. You had just a little bit of faith. Dude, you walked on water. Why'd you take your eyes off of me? Why'd you doubt? Next time you just got to keep on going. See, Bible people are no different than you and me, really, are they? I mean, same thing. Stuff happens in our life, and we try to put what feels like a bad life or a bad circumstance or a bad problem. It's all around us today, all right? Stuff we don't like, stuff we don't understand. And then we take that and we try to lay that beside what we expected or hoped or believed would be true about a good Jesus. And sometimes it feels impossible to connect the dots of a bad life with a good Jesus and have them both make sense. And so we're left with a lot of doubt and a lot of confusion and a lot of questions.
Jesus, Jesus, could you tell me what the problem is with the world and all the people in it? Because I've been hearing stories about the end of the world, and I'm in love with a girl and I don't want to leave her. And the television screams such hideous things. They're talking about the war on the radio. They say the whole thing's gonna blow and we will all be left alone. No, we'll be dead and we won't know what hit us. And Jesus, Jesus, if you're out there, won't you hear me? I've been wondering if you're listening for quite a while. And Jesus, Jesus, it's such a pretty place we live in, and I know we messed it up, please be kind. Don't let us go down like the dinosaurs, blown to bits in a third world war. There are 100 different things I like to do. I'd like to climb to the top of the Eiffel Tower, look up from the ground at a meteor shower, and maybe raise a family. And Jesus, Jesus, there are those that say they loved you, but they've treated me so damn mean. And I know you said forgive them for they know not what they do, but I'm pretty sure they do when I think about you. And if all the heathens burn in hell, do all their children burn as well? What about the Muslims and the gays and the unwed mothers? And what about me and all my friends? Are we all sinners 'cause we sin? Does it even matter in the end if we're unhappy? Jesus, Jesus, I'm still looking for answers, though I know that I won't find them. But Jesus, Jesus, could you call me if you have the time? Maybe we could have a drink and work it out. Maybe then I'd understand. Maybe then I'd understand. Maybe then I'd understand you.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that song, my buddy played it for me, and then he played it for me again because I think it's probably one of the most honest songs I've ever heard. He said, they'll never play this in any church. And I was like, you don't know Flatirons. And the reason I love it so much is because it's a guy named Noah Gunderson who's actually asking the right questions, the hard questions. How do you put this beside good God and have them both make sense? Because I'm trying to understand. You know, that's true now. It was true 2,000 years ago. Like I said, Bible people are no different than you and me, right? The guys in the boat didn't get to read ahead, you know, and see that, oh, Jesus is going to come. He's going to rescue you. I didn't know it. In the moment, they fully expected to die, like so many other of their friends had died in storms just like this. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself in some version of a boat in a storm that in the past historically it's always sunk you before, or at least parts of your life, and you fully expect that this storm is going to sink you again? And in that storm, have you ever whispered or thought to yourself, where's good God in all this? I thought he would take care of me, and it feels like he either can't or won't. A lot of you know like bits and pieces of our story, especially my wife Robin's part of it. Hey Rob. Hey, so Rob, so as I've been unpacking the story about here's Peter in a boat that's sinking in a big storm with a lot of questions in his mind, and then here comes Jesus, all right? Does any of that feel familiar, sitting in a boat in the middle of a storm?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I feel like I wonder where Jesus really is. If he's in the boat with me, I don't feel him there.
What is the storm that's raging for you?
Depression, migraines, feeling abandoned.
Okay. What do you say to God in the middle of stuff like that? What do you ask for?
Well, I get really angry, and I feel like I really know what's best for myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a wrestling match with God.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to ask him for things. He's doing something totally different. I think maybe if I was actually with Jesus, I would shake him or hit him or...
Wait, time out. It's Easter. He just said that you would shake and hit Jesus. We should probably edit that, but
Okay,
go ahead. No.
all right, no.
No, it's
I
good.
won't say it.
But what are you asking him? What do you want him to do?
I want him to be there, and I want to be able to feel that he's there. What I know and what I believe is totally different from what I feel.
Okay.
And I have to remember the things that I believe, or I feel like he isn't there.
All right. So how do you deal with it? Well, the storm keeps on coming. You've believed in Jesus since you were a little kid. You've asked him to take it away, and the answer is so far is what?
No, or not now.
This is not a very satisfying answer.
Right.
All right. So I think there's a lot of people like listening to us right now going, I feel like that, you know? And so when you're in a storm, you have a belief system and a feeling system, and they're really hard to make them both make sense. How do you keep going?
Hope. I have hope, and that's been promised to us, that we have hope in Jesus. And even when I don't feel him there, I cling to that hope.
About 13 years ago, you shared this story with our church for the first time, because a lot of churches, it doesn't have a bow on the end of it, right?
Right.
It's not like I prayed a prayer and the storm went away and my depression went away. I don't have migraines anymore. I mean,
Right.
you've had a cluster migraine like for the last week.
Right.
All right. So there's somebody out there right now that's listening to us, and they're like, I don't have migraines. I got fired. I don't have migraines. I don't know where my income's going to be. I don't have migraines, but somebody I really care about has got, coronavirus, and I don't know what the future is. All right. What am I supposed to do? I've been praying and asking, and the storm won't go away. Seems like it's getting worse. So what do you hold on to? Like where does that leave you day to day to day to day? Like what is that? What does that look like for you?
Well, some days I'm good and some days I'm bad, and I've prayed for healing, and it hasn't come yet. In 2 Corinthians, I think it's 12, 2 Corinthians 12, it tells us that his grace is sufficient for me, and when I'm weak, he's strong. And that's what I cling to. That made all the difference in the world to me in dealing with depression and migraines. Knowing that he was strong, that I didn't have to be, that he was.
So whether you feel it or not, where's Jesus when you're sitting in a boat in a storm? Whether you feel it or not.
He's there.
Yeah?
My eyes might not be on him, but he's there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for doing this. I know you love public speaking a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks. I think that your story is going to connect with a lot of other people's stories too. So thanks. All right. Okay. Let me just land this. So like, what is any of that? Robin's story, Peter in a boat walking on water. What does that have to do with Easter? Well, think of it this way. Jesus coming and living with us is like the ultimate, like getting in the boat with us. And when he died on that cross 2,000 years ago, it paid for your and my sin so that there's no condemnation. There's no fear of punishment or separation from God ever again. But here's the Easter part. See, when he rose from the dead, and that's what we're celebrating this weekend, when he rose from the dead as proof that he could keep every promise that he's made to us, one of those promises is that he would send his own Spirit to not just be like in the boat with us, but actually to live like in you, like in a person, like changing you from the inside out, healing you from the inside out, not just the storms, but giving you the strength on the inside to face whatever storm this world throws at you. He's the only explanation that Robin could give you that she's still alive. He's the only thing that I could ever point to explain why I don't walk around carrying a whole load of guilt and shame and insecurity from my past. There's plenty to go around. And we both Robin and I, we would look at you and say, he's the only reason we're still married, why our family's still together, why we still love one another, why we're still healing, not in spite of storms, but through them all, through all the storms that have hit our lives. Listen, I don't know what you're hoping or expecting to find in Jesus. If it's someone to take away all your problems, you're not going to find it in Jesus. If you're looking for like a crystal ball, to magically make all your dreams and wishes come true, you won't find it in Jesus. If you're looking for some like religious code that if you do everything right or enough times or the right way, Jesus will make sure that only good things happen to your life and to your family. Listen, you won't find it. It's not in the Bible. But if you're looking for someone who loves you enough to lay down his own life for you in order to take away your guilt and your condemnation, if you're looking for someone who, but I love this, by the same power that raised Christ from the dead, is able to come and live inside of you and walk through life with you in that same power, and knowing that you're never alone. Like Robin said, I'm never alone, I'm never abandoned, I'm never forsaken, I'm never condemned. That Jesus is able to bring you peace in every storm that you will ever face, and there will be many of them. You name it, storms, cancer, car wrecks, coronavirus, financial stress, family dysfunction, marriage, mental, physical, emotional, sexual problems, right? Again, you name it. If the storm hasn't hit you yet, it's a matter of time, right? But if you're looking for someone who can go through the storm with you, in the boat with you, living inside of you, let me just tell you, this is Easter. You will find him in the crucified and risen Son of God. His name is Jesus. He's good. And he loves you. He wants good for you, which is why he went to the cross for you and me in the first place. And he's available to you like right now, this Easter weekend, wherever you are, in your living room, in your car, wherever it is, you can have a conversation. Just ask him into your life. You don't have to know a bunch of Bible verses. You don't have to go to a bunch of classes or religious ceremony. You don't even have to have a lot of faith, apparently. It apparently just takes a little bit. But only you can do this. Nobody can do it for you. Ask him to come and live in you. Tell him that you believe in him, even if it's just a little bit. Ask him to help you believe him and trust him even more. Ask him into your life. Jesus, will you come into my life? Will you get in my boat with me? Will you go through this storm with me? Will you live in me? And he'll come, probably in an unexpected way. Crazy, like walking on waves through the storm, but he will come. He promises to come. And Easter is the guarantee that he will keep his promise to come and give you peace in whatever storm you find yourself in. That's Easter. Let's just pray together, right? So God, I have a feeling that there are not one or two, but probably thousands of people staring at a screen right now going, I feel like that. I feel like I'm alone. I feel like my life is a storm. I feel abandoned. I feel like I'm probably going down. And in this time, maybe for the first time ever, we're just going to whisper a prayer going, hey, Jesus, if you're there, I need you. I need you to come walking in my direction. I need you to get in a boat with me. I need you to get in my life with me, because I don't think I'm going to make it to shore by myself. And Jesus, because of the kind of God that you are, the kind of God that would lay down his own life and then take it back up. In that power, your answer to all those questions is yes, I'm with you. I'll never leave you. I'll forgive you. I'll live with you. I'll walk with you. And I'll heal you. I'll go through every moment of every day from this point on. I will give you peace in the middle of a storm, no matter what that storm. And I believe that, Jesus, because you're the kind of God who keeps your promise and raises from the dead. And you'll even resurrect the dead parts of my life. I believe that. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I don't wanna be afraid every time I face the waves. I don't wanna be afraid. No, I don't wanna be afraid. I don't wanna fear the storm just because I hear you roar. I don't wanna fear the storm. No, I don't wanna fear the storm. Oh, peace, be still. Say the word and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Peace, be still. You are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. So I'm not gonna be afraid, 'cause these waves are only waves. No, I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna fear the storm. You are greater than its roar. No, I'm not gonna fear the storm. Oh, I'm not gonna fear it all. Yes. Oh, peace, be still. Say the word, and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Lord, peace, be still. You are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Peace, peace, yes, over me, Jesus. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe it. Let faith rise up in me. Yes.
So don't let your heart be troubled. Just hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Just fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. The head that once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet, and now at His feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame is now robed in majesty. The radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. And your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. Yeah. The fear that held us now gives way to Him who is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. Yeah. By your Spirit I'll rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. And the resurrected King is resurrecting me. Yeah. Oh, He's alive. The tomb where soldiers watched in vain was borrowed for 3 days. And His body there would not remain, 'cause our God has robbed the grave, and our God has robbed the grave. Oh, Jesus. Your name is victory, and all praise will our friend forever, His kingdom come.
Hey, thanks so much for being here with us right now and worshiping with us. We do this every single week, so we'll have church online every single weekend. We'll keep you posted on when we can actually meet in person together in all of our different campuses, but we will be here online every single week. On top of that, if you want to check out our social media, Flatirons Church at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, we're constantly trying our best to provide resources to actually help you take advantage of the season that we're in. So stuff on how to parent and stuff on marriage. So be constantly checking our social media for resources that are hopefully helpful. But again, very glad that you're here today. Thanks for worshiping with us, and we'll see you next week.